All right, we are back for book number 2, Valor. And whereas I thought book number 1 was pretty straightforward and everybody had their own like clear path, there wasn't a lot of running around. Yeah, I think it kind of played out nice and easily. This one, can we just say chaos? At the end of the first book, we had Corbin and his group. They were, thrust out of their home. And so we pick up with them in this one, trying to find a long distant relative of Idana out to the west. They're going to go there for sanctuary and to regroup and try to take back their home and her kingdom. So I just want to say before we get rolling that there's going to be no spoilers starting out here, and then we'll go to spoilers at the end as usual. So this book, I wish I had taken notes right from the get-go. I got about halfway and I'm thinking, man, I should be writing some of this down because we get to jump on the shoulders of a lot more characters. I think we add maybe 6 new POVs from the first book. And there were times, even halfway through the book, where it popped up the new chapter. I'm like, okay, who is this? What are they doing? Where are they? And I have to read for maybe a page. Like, oh, okay, I kind of remember this. Because we have our main cast members, but we still have other people who, some of them we ride along with, and it's not clear yet how they're going to be important to the story. They have an interesting story themselves, but it's not all tying in yet. So some of them we wouldn't see for quite a while, and then when they pop back up, you're like, what were they doing? Why should I know this person? But that's on me. I think for the third book, I'm going to start out writing notes and keeping better track of this. With Nathair, what he's doing, he's looking for the cauldron, right? He wants to go to the cauldron and, fulfill his prophecy of being the bright sun. So that's his main goal from the start of the book. Now, some of the stuff I can't talk about because there's a major spoiler that's revealed pretty early on in the book. So I can't talk about any of that because that would give away a major spoiler. So if you like the first book, you're going to like this one. If you thought the first book was a little slow or kind of like, yeah, okay, I think you'll like this one. Because like I said, it does speed up. It's a lot more chaotic. If you like that kind of thing, there's more people going different places and they don't stay in one place. Whereas the first book, people were kind of like going back and forth between a couple places. This one, we're going all over the map. And while we have some of our group kind of towards the end focusing towards one point, we still have other things going on over here throughout as well. So I think even if you were just so on the first book, stick with it. It picks up. It gets a lot more interesting. We learn a lot more about the world, the gods, at least one of them, and Corbin, what's going on with him, what kind of things can he really do. Same with Nathair and his dealing, moving on to what he thinks is his bright end and bright spot in all of this. So that's all I'm going to do for non-spoilers. Oh, one thing I do want to say, a difference from the first book. This book, it's a lot bloodier, a lot more graphic, and not just because we have more battles, but there are like one-on-one fights that get a lot more graphic. There's some torture scenes, we get to see the aftermath of some torture that's kind of repulsive. So yeah, this one, there were a few moments where like, whoa, this is a step further than we had in the first book, which I'm okay with. It's a bloody place. So be aware of that. Also, I'll just say that the body count is higher for people we know. I'll just leave it at that. So if you would like the video, subscribe to the channel and come back for the second book after you've read it. And of course, we'll be moving on to the third. So we will see you again next time. Ciao. For those of you who have read the book, let's talk spoilers. Now I've got my notes here written down here. Obviously, the big spoiler that I was kind of hinting towards in the beginning is Corbin's sister, Cywin. She's alive, which I kind of figured she was. I wasn't sure, but once we saw, was it Helion's brother? Is it Connell? Once he was alive, he survived the fall. You're like, okay, surely she must have survived too. And which I'm not opposed to. She's a good character. But I feel like towards the end of the book, she just kind of got used as bait for Corbin, and that's it. That's all she was there for. So she wasn't as interesting as she could have been. Maybe that'll change in the future, 2 books. But for this book, it was just kind of like, okay, she's just there for bait. Let me move on. Corbin. So we learned a bit more about him, but I'm really glad that we didn't get much with his elemental power. You know, they just kind of started to train and learn about it, tell him what it was, but he hasn't, obviously hasn't learned how to use it. He used it that one time in the woods with the flaming sword, but after that, nothing. And I'm kind of glad about that because it does seem he's a bit overpowered with his sword fighting or any fighting really. I guess you could put that towards that he is Elion's avatar, and so he's got a bit more help behind the scenes. So it already seems like he's overpowered with the fighting stuff, right? It just comes natural, and maybe there's a mysterious hand guiding him. So I'm fine that we didn't get any of his elemental stuff because imagine his sword fighting plus like perfect elemental usage. There's no stopping him, huh? So I'm happy with everything that happened with him and how he's progressing. And it's kind of as expected. I think there's really no big surprises with him. Next up, Nether. Oh man, what has he got to be thinking? Because at the end, when he's by the cauldron and he sees everybody's fighting, and there's the spot where he's just sitting on the steps, kind of looking out. I kind of imagine him sitting there just being like, "What is happening?" So now, what's he gonna do? Two ways of this going. Either he's stuck, right? He can't just run away. He can't be talking to Calidus and be like, you know what? I'm just gonna go back home to mom and I'll just wait there while you guys rule the world. And he can't run off to the enemy. I think if he says anything, he's gonna be, because Calidus, he has that like the voodoo doll, the puppet master stuff that he gave to Lycos, right? He could just do that with Nether. Which, why not just kill him? I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see what exactly he does. He's going to be, he can't say useful idiot because now I think he knows what's going on. So he's kind of going against his will and just going along with the Dark Lord. I don't know. We'll find out, huh? Next, let me go to someone I did not expect to really care that much about, and that's Maquin or McQuinn. In my head, I always want to say McQueen, Lightning McQueen. Can't do that. But we kept jumping back to him, in the fighting pits, and I'm just kind of like, all right. Obviously, he's set up for something else in the future, but why are we jumping back to him? But as time went on, it got more interesting. I began to care more about him and what he was going through and how it ended up. First with his sword brother, Orgel, who got chained up after being tortured, and that's what I was talking about, some of the more graphic descriptions we get about torture and how he was all burned and skin hanging off and that kind of thing. So what he went through with that, and he was leaving that chamber and he saw Orgel mouth, kill me, right? After all they've been through, and he saw it, and you're just like, oh man, that's rough. And then they throw them in the pits together. And we've seen this 100 times, right? In movies and books where it's friend against friend, and it's like, kill me, go on to fulfill our mission. You're the better of us. Just kill me. And I thought he was going to do it. I was so sure he was going to do it, but nope. He's got too much honor and love for his friend. And so I thought, man, I was not expecting that, for them to just go out fighting. I thought that was awesome, super fantastic that they both got to go out fighting back to back, shoulder to shoulder. And of course, Orgel got the worst of it. By that point, it was to be expected. McQuinn got away, so we'll see what happens next with him. He's got Fidel with him, so there's going to be some, and especially with Nether, now that he knows what's going on, how is he going to try to connect with his mom and then probably end up helping Corbin and the others, huh? So we'll see. The last thing is Corbin's mom. So we've got the first book, he lost his dad. Second book, he's lost his mom, which, man, that hit me pretty hard. I don't know why, because his mom hasn't been someone we've really got to know very well. I guess it's because we know Corbin so well that it really, hit me in the chest. He's like, oh, I feel terrible. And because the only reason she's there is because they went back to get his sister. So imagine how Cywin has to feel. It's like, they came back for me and mom got killed. So that was rough. That was really rough. But like I said, now you got to wonder. First book, dad. Second book, mom. Third book, first thought is Cywin, right? We're just knocking off all his family members. But then I'm thinking, no, 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 no. She's got to stay, huh? She's got to stay. What they're probably going to do, and this is just my prediction, I have no idea. And if you don't want to hear it, turn it off. Plug your ears for a couple seconds. Gar. It's going to be Gar, huh? Third book, Gar is going to go. And because that's, someone mentioned even as they watched him that he looked like or felt like Corbin's older brother or a father figure. And I think that's what we're doing. We got, the two parental figures out of the way. The next one would be Gar, the only one that other than Brinna, but obviously more so than Brinna, Gar. So I think Gar is going to be the one to go in the third book. Just a prediction, and I hate that I even thought that, because I don't like to predict and think and be like, oh, this is going to happen. I'm thinking this. I hate that, so get it out of my head. But that's what I think is going to happen. As far as what happens next with Azeroth and Kaladas, who knows? Obviously, the Cauldron, I just don't know, because they need really the 7 pieces, right? We've got the Cauldron, the axe. Is it Envis who has the necklace? And I think there was one more, a fourth one that's been seen or someone has. But that still leaves 3 more to be discovered in the next couple books before the end of the 4th one. So I really have no idea which way this is go, where they're going to run to. Like I said, unless they're going to have to get hooked up with Fidel and Nathair, right? Nathair is probably going to die in the next one because he's not going to do what the Dark Lord wants him to, or Kaladas, unless he uses him as a puppet, which is quite possible. But I think they're going to have to hook up with Fidel, and I don't know. It's crazy. But I love these books so far. I love how it's kind of ramped up from the first one to the second one. And the last 2 I got sitting up there. I can't wait to read them. Hope you'll come back and check out my reviews of those when I do them. Please like and subscribe down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the books. And I will catch you next time. See ya.